Hello and welcome to the series, The Windows IT Pro Stories, where I'm chatting with IT professionals to get a different perspective and their learnings of Windows 11. My name is Haja Dalwal. I'm a product marketing manager for Windows Commercial at Microsoft. And to discuss Windows 11, here's an IT pro, Daniel Engberg. Welcome, Daniel.
Hello, thanks for having me. I work as a principal consultant at Agdiwo, based in Gothenburg, Sweden. I work with a lot of enterprise customers. For my whole IT pro career, I've worked with client management, basically the enterprise management side of things, as well as client design. So everything from Windows XP to Windows 7 to Windows 10 and now Windows 11. I've worked on quite some bit, and in the last few years I've worked quite significantly with the servicing of the Windows 10 operating system.
That's great. You got a ton of experience. And so let's dive in. Let's talk about Windows 11. You talked about enterprise customers and stuff. What are you hearing from the leadership of enterprise customers and as well as the IT departments about Windows 11?
Since Windows 11 looks and feels a little bit different compared to Windows 10, a lot of our customers are looking at making some other significant changes with Windows 11. So since they will need to educate their end users, they are also focusing on modernizing all of the clients in the environment, which means that many of the customers, they are now looking at the cloud-only approach instead of having a legacy approach. And many of our customers, they are staying on Windows 10 for their legacy and Windows 11 for the modern, because you can more easily see the end user can see that now I'm on a modern device compared to the Windows 10 device. And it goes all the way from the provisioning with autopilot up until you're ready with your device. And from the leadership team, a lot of the questions that I'm getting is what do I need in terms of hardware? Do I need to upgrade my machines? And as I said, with modernizing the client is also about modernizing the hardware. So a lot of companies, they are taking the approach with now we need to really rethink everything related to our clients, from how do we manage them, what kind of clients do we need, taking a bigger approach.
Excellent. Yeah, those are great questions from your customers for sure. So the approach that you're having and you're helping them is basically to make sure they have a good infrastructure for management and keeping the devices secured and their users as well. So things like you threw a few things out there like autopilot, Windows Autopilot, Endpoint Manager. So are those the tools that you're using to help them upgrade to Windows 11 without a lot of headaches and?
Yeah, I think that many of the big headache is if you're trying to do the approach that you already have and trying to implement that in the modern world. So you have some things like connections to Active Directory that have been there for 20 years that no one has updated, and they don't really know how it works. Everything is device centric, and I think that the approach that has been the most successful is actually looking back and how do we really want this to work, not how does it work now.
You've been working with Windows 11. Do you have any tips and tricks to share with your fellow IT pros?
Yeah, I mean, the everything related to productivity is really nice. I mean, now you can use the separate desktops. I started using that recently and found that very, very, very nice. So I can have desktops for different purposes, just like you would with Edge with different profiles. So it keeps it clean. So if you, for example, from an IT pro perspective, want to demo something, then you can have a clean desktop just for that purpose.
Yeah, that's a really great tool for as an IT professional, right? Because you're doing like maybe some coding or PowerShell things and you want to separate it on a different desktop. I've used it personally when I was presenting at conferences. I had a different desktop so that's what I displayed to the audience, and then I had my other one for my my notes or whatever else. So that's a really good one. Um, were there any improvements to Windows 11 that surprised you?
I think what surprised me was that how well everything now integrates into the rest of the products, rest of the Microsoft ecosystem. That has worked much better than expected, and it's Windows 11 for me is the Windows 10 that I wanted. It feels like everything now is coming together, so you get the benefits of maybe your other investments into one product. And now I can also see the new developments coming with Windows 365, for example, with that kind of integration, which is really cool. It just works, and the application compatibility is also excellent. Haven't seen any issues with that so far.
If it works with Windows 10, it works with Windows 11. And Microsoft also has services such as Aperture and TestSpace to help you get those applications working with Windows 11. So there's no issues there at all. You're using it as a consumer, as a IT pro, as a business person. What excites you about Windows 11?
What it really excites me is that I can see that a lot of development is going into the client operating system again. So I can see that there is a revived focus on the client OS, and as I mentioned before, we also see that the other modern applications related to Microsoft are also there. From an IT pro perspective, your customers are your end users. So the important thing here is that it should be clear for them. It should be something that excites them. That going to Windows 11 might all of a sudden be exciting. I mean, I've been servicing Windows 10 from when servicing was introduced, and moving to a new version hasn't really been that exciting for the users. And has been since for every new version we had to test all the applications, and all the end users, they had to be not all the end users, but the users that had to test applications, they had to be involved in that process. But here we see that Windows 11, it looks different, but it works the same. For example, we have the settings, the control panel and settings. Now we have most of the settings are now in the settings instead of them being at two different places. So it's for people that have used Windows 10 or earlier, it might be a bit confusing at first, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I agree. And the settings feature is really nice. I like everything's in one place now. Last question for you. I won't keep you too long. So what's your advice for IT pros and organizations to why should they go with Windows 11?
I think all organizations that want to modernize their environment, they should look at Windows 11, because now you have the opportunity of leveraging the modern cloud-based solutions that Microsoft has, and the end users will actually see a difference now compared to the old version. So I think that, and it's the same thing with the hardware now, that you need to do some upgrades in your environment. So I think that the IT teams should really look at this as an opportunity to modernize and make bigger changes than just upgrading to a new technical version of the operating system.
So Daniel, thank you for being here. And you heard from Daniel today, and he focused on modernization, and that's why you should do Windows 11. So thank you.
Thank you.